understand with like value creation is that doing is often the lowest form of value, because anyone can do if you're told what to do. Just go and do it. Then you've got like, and again, I'm butchering this, but like then you've got like people managing, right? Where I'm managing people who are digging. There's more pay in that because I've got to manage the people, and there's more production. One person can manage 10. So I'm more productive for the company. Then there is those who's managing like higher management, managing the people who manage the people.
Welcome to the Gentleman Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast, where we bring to you the most successful, happy, fulfilled gentlemen from around the world who have been able to conquer themselves, their life, their marriage, and their businesses. You will be learning from four-dimensional gentlemen who have cracked the code to the science of having it all. The question is, how can married entrepreneurs with kids become gentlemen, achieve true freedom, and build a successful, happy, and fulfilled life, marriage, and business? This show will give you the answer for that. My name is Alex Ramirez, and I'm your host, and you're welcome to the Gentleman Success, Happiness, Fulfillment Talk podcast. So as always, I'm very excited to be here with you with another episode of the Gentleman Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk with Alex Ramirez. And I have a very special and incredible guest today that I can't wait to deep dive into his story and pick his brain about to find out what he has done to be able to conquer his life, his marriage, and his business. So before I actually introduce him really quick, I just want to give a big shout out to everyone who has been leaving comments and reviews on all the major podcasting platforms, Apple, Google, Spotify, and to those who have been watching on YouTube as well. Thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to leave us a comment. And if you like this episode, share it with one person, because this is how we grow. This is how we share our message. This is how we motivate and inspire and bless other people. And 99% of you probably won't do this, but the 1% of you who do are the ones who make all the difference. So thank you very much. And let's get started. So today I have James Neilson-Watt. He's CEO of Patient and Profit, which teaches health professionals how to run successful businesses so they can create more impact. James is also the author of Healthcare Business Secrets, a step-by-step guide to growing a wildly successful healthcare business. A health professional himself, having practiced in and ran his own healthcare business for a number of years before transitioning into the coaching space. James has been featured in Yahoo Finance, LA Weekly, New York Weekly, and other publications, and has worked with hundreds of healthcare businesses over in 15 countries, or in over 15 countries. He's helping them increase their revenue by over $50 million collectively, and helping tens of thousands of patients in the process. He's also husband and father of 2 little boys, and he's crushing it in his life, in his marriage, and in his business. So, James, thank you very much for being here, man. I'm very excited, and welcome.
Yeah, dude, I appreciate it. I'm excited.
Did I crush the introduction?
Yeah, man, nailed it.
Cool. Man, so the first thing that I like to do with my guests as soon as they come in here is put them on the line and tell us a little bit about themselves and describe their entrepreneurial journey in 60 seconds or less.
Yeah, man. So I graduated I was just about to turn 24 from chiropractic college, 5-year degree. And I got into business as an associate. It wasn't working very well. The people that I was working for, they understood clinical stuff. They just didn't get business. Me and my girlfriend, who's now my wife, were there. Wasn't working. In 6 months, we were like, look, we're going broke here. And we were going to chase these big jobs overseas. And in doing that, we realized, hey, look, we can probably do this ourselves. Now, we were A students. We did really well. We're great with clients. We thought, let's just do this ourselves. We ended up buying the practice for a really good deal, because it was basically all our clients anyway, and took over, tripled it in 3 months. Within 8 months, we had a second practice. Within 2 years, we'd hit $1 million in revenue, all before I turned like 26 or something. And from there, I was making a lot of money. I was busy, but I couldn't live my life. So we went to go traveling, and I was stressing out the entire time because this holiday was costing me 10 grand and not working was costing me even more. And so I said something had to change. And so I went through this evolution of how I was running my business. Fast forward to closer to today, married, baby on the way, wanted to be at home, said, I can't be in practice, 12 hours a day. I got to do something different. I started teaching people some stuff. I realized that I really loved it. And I started getting into the coaching space. Within 8 months, I had hit $1 million a year in revenue in the coaching business. Within a year and a bit, I'd quit practice. The business was running itself. Fast forward to today, we've done over 3 million in revenue. I've helped hundreds of people, and I'm in a completely different place. I'm not in practice anymore, and I'm loving what I'm doing, but I still have my clinic. So it's still there, still seeing people. I got a few associates, but I feel more free. I feel more connected to my family, and things are good, man.
That's amazing, man. So going back to, you spent 5 years in getting an education, your formal education, and then I don't know how much time trying to make it work, and you weren't able to make it work, which actually ties back to a picture, a quote that I read on your profile when I was, digging a little bit about you, which says this: you just need so it's a picture, no, right? With you're there, and then it says, you just need to stick it out, and people will come, referrals will come, right? So like build it and they will come, right? So you had all this education and you got all of this formal education, but like you just need to stick it out and people will come, referrals will come. So that was not the case, was it?
No, so I think it's the I know which post you're talking about. Is it the one with the guy with the clown mask on? Is that one where he puts a clown mask on? It was a satire to the fact that so many health professionals and business owners think that if I'm just really good, I'll get clients and things will be good. The irony is that, of course, you need to stick it out, but like you can't just expect that people will come to you, because there's plenty of experts, and it's very easy to be an expert. Dude, I spent 5 years at chiropractic college studying intensely. It should have probably been a 6-year degree, but it was condensed for us. And I came out of it and, opened my doors. It's like, hey guys, I can help you. And then I realized that no one cares. And so it's like, you can't rely on just business coming. You got to go and hustle. But at the same time, and the point of that post was mocking this idea of just graduating and clients will come. But in reality, it's like, no, you got to stick it out, of course, but you got to be pivoting and adapting and trying to get your message to people. Because you can't just rely on referrals. Like that's why healthcare practices, especially, but a lot of businesses, it's like, it'll just take time to build your business. And it's like, yes and no. Like, yes, it takes time. That's obvious, but it shouldn't be taking time when you're sitting there and waiting. Like Gary Vee talks about this. He says, be patient in the macro, which is your goals. I want to build $1 million business. That's not going to happen tomorrow. 100%. Got to take time. But in the micro, which is the day-to-day hustle, you got to go fast. You got to go fast. You got to learn. You got to pivot. You got to adapt. So sitting there and with your doors open saying, okay, I'm waiting for the clients to come. Like, this is not going to work. It might do in 20 years time, but it's a long time to wait and hope that something's going to happen. And I work with so many people who have done that and are still struggling, that it's like, the best advice I can give, which is what we did, is find somebody who's done what you've wanted to do and throw money at them to tell you how to do it, or provide some value so that they'll show you. Because without learning from other people's mistakes, you're going to spend a long time trying to learn from your own. And so I hope that explains that a little bit more.
Yeah. And then you're like, the second part of that is define that advice is what brought me success. So then how exactly is it that, can you dig a little bit deeper into how exactly you were able to like defy that advice? And
well, 100%, exactly what I said. I was told it takes 7 years to build a practice, James. It takes time to build a business, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, that's true. But I looked at it and said, well, if time is inevitable, because time is going to have to progress, right? We live in a universe with time. What can I do to speed it up? Because business success is just clients coming to you and serving those clients, and right? Cost per acquisition, cost of service, and then revenue. And if you add them all together, you get profit, and that's your company. So do things to get customers cheaper, have a high lifetime value per customer, and have whatever your expenses are to serve it, and just balance those three numbers and you'll win. What do I got to do to get more of them? So I went and said, well, running events is a great way to get clients, but it costs time. So if I'm running events, I can't treat clients so I can't make money. So I've got to get clients that doesn't require me to be spending time, so I can spend my time treating clients and making money. So I dive into the world of online marketing and things like that. Like for me, it was just, how do I do it easier? I've always been focused on doing it easier. I'm a work smarter, not harder. You know, if we have to dig holes, I'm not going to use my hands. You know what I mean? I'm going to go walk to the shop, buy an ice cream and a shovel, and come back and then dig the holes. And if I don't have the money, I'm going to say to my boss, hey man, can you pay me up front? And I'll go buy a shovel and then I'll go and do it. Like, I'm not going to just bleed from my hands, because I'll come back to the work site. You would be 3 holes deep. And you're like, oh, bro, you haven't even started on your holes. Look at you. You're an idiot. And I'm like, okay, I'm eating my ice cream. You're 5 holes deep. And then I get my shovel out and now I'm finished. And it's like, oh shit, because I thought about it. There's a great example of this. My grandfather or whatever had been cutting firewood, and then my job was to put it into the box. And my grandmother was there. And I'm leaning on my knee with one hand, and my other hand is throwing in the firewood like this. She's like, James, use 2 hands. Don't be lazy. And I'm like, Grandma, it's not going to make me particularly more efficient at moving the firewood, and my back's going to hurt. So I don't really want my back to hurt. So I'm just going to keep doing this. She's like, James, oh, look, do it like this. And she's doing it. And she's slightly faster than me at getting the firewood through, but then she has to stop and stretch her back. And so it actually becomes counterproductive, because eventually she can't do it. And I'm like, Grandma, I'm not going to work hard. I'm going to work smart. But ironically, you know, I love my grandma, but she also thinks that I need to go and get a real job, because she doesn't think that what I do is real work. And I'm like, Grandma, I'm not going to be a laborer, as much as you want to feel like that's real work. And there's nothing wrong with that. But money. And I don't have to, Grandma, so I'm going to go and dig holes.
Despite of your success, you still get that what you do is not real work, or was that just like a joke?
No, yeah, for sure. She still says that. She still thinks I don't do real work, because it's just a different way of thinking about things. And you know, my family, I'm the first to go from high school to university, and to graduate not as an adult. Other person had graduated as an adult. You know, I'm the first to be very successful in business, and the first millionaire, and the first of a lot of things. And it's just because I did things differently. So there's no judgment. It's just a different perspective. You know, my grandmother came from her subculture was, you work hard and you save money and you buy a house. And it's like, that might have worked in your day, Grandma, but there's not many people who are working in factories or digging holes that are going to be able to buy a house, because the economy's changed. So you got to pivot. And so my hard work is in my head, and it's leveraged, you know, whereas she might consider hard work to be what you are physically doing. I consider hard work to be doing the thing that produces the best outcomes, not just working for the sake of working.
Nice, man. I like that. I like what you said, that your hard work is in your head and you leverage that, right? So that's a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people don't understand the power of thinking. Right? There's a quote that I really like, which is, I think it goes like this: 80% of people, no, 5% of people think that they think. 80% of people, no, wait. 80% of people think they think. No, 15% of people think that they think. 80% of people, 5% of people think. Oh, I don't remember how it goes, man. But basically, it says that people would rather die than think, right? So
look, I think that what people don't understand with like value creation is that doing is often the lowest form of value, because anyone can do if you're told what to do. Just go and do it. Then you've got like, and again, I'm butchering this, but like then you've got like people managing, right? Where I'm managing people who are digging. There's more pay in that, because I've got to manage the people, and there's more production. One person can manage 10, so I'm more productive for the company. Then there is those who's managing like higher management, managing the people who manage the people. Then there's the people who create the ideas that actually do the things. And you want to be the one who's creating the ideas, and then stuff is happening. Tony Robbins has 50 companies or something and manages 17 of them, but he's not there doing stuff like to that extent. He's creating the ideas, and then the people go and implement the ideas, and it's things like that. Like I read something else. It was like Shaq's rich, and the guy who pays Shaq is wealthy. I think Chris Rock or Dave Chappelle said it in a different context, but It's like, yeah, you want to be the one that's creating the value, not implementing on the value. And that's where people get confused. They think that their effort is what's valuable. It's like, nah, it's the result that's being produced. And ironically, that like it relates to being a parent. It relates to being a husband. It's the same thing. It's like, I work really hard to make my wife happy, but it's like, but she's not. So what you're doing is not working, man. Your kid, I work really hard to be a good dad. It's like, yeah, but you work so hard to make money for your kids, but then you weren't there as a father. So you actually weren't a good dad because you were putting in a lot of effort, but you were not producing the result. So the smart person, the successful person looks at what they're doing and the result that it's producing and says, is my effort producing the result I want? And is it producing it in the way that it needs to be produced for me to have the other aspects? Because it's not just all about putting in work. It's, you've got to enjoy some of it too. So like to link it back to other parts of your show, I think that you could see it in people being parents, friends, spouse. It's how you think about your efforts and the reward. Is it a 1-to-1 ratio? Or is it a 1-to-100? I would rather be 1-to-100 and learn skills to get me there than to be 1-to-1 and have no skills.
That's awesome, man. I actually have a ladder of value. I have it here in my mirror. I have a mirror in front of me and I have it here. So like there's 4 levels, right? The first level that you were talking about is implementators. So the people that implement the stuff. The second level is unificators and managers. The third level is the communicators, right? The ones who are coaching the unificators and who manage the people, right? And then at the top are the thinkers. So in a hotel, the implementators are the ones who like work really hard, do like cleaning the restrooms and everything. And they're the ones who are getting paid the least, right? Then there's the managers and the community, the unificators, the ones who unify a group of people so that they can go and cook, go and clean, go and like clean the pool and everything, and they manage those people. And then there's the communicator, the ones who communicates, like what is the result that we're looking for. And then there's the thinker, the one who's like managing multiple hotels at the same time, and he's the one that gets paid the most, but does the least amount of work, right? So yeah, I actually have it here, and like I always want to make sure that I'm reminding myself that I don't want to be an implementer, right? Because I've been stuck wanting to do it myself, right? Like wanting to do everything myself because I think that I'm really good and nobody else can do it, and I'm the only one that can do it. But the reality is that no, like probably anyone can do it, and
everybody thinks that they're the only one that can do it. That's what holds everyone back in their businesses, is that they're the only one that can do it. And when we accept that actually we're not a unicorn and that probably 50 million people can do it, you stop being fancy about it. That's not to say don't do it. That's just to say that you're doing it right now because it makes financial sense to do it until it doesn't make financial sense to do it anymore. And then you have to have somebody else to get to the next level. But yeah, 100%.
Cool. So you do it until it makes financial sense not to do it. So there's 4 skills. I call them the gentleman success skills. Right? I mean, I didn't invent those skills. I just call them like that, right? So it's sales and marketing, recruiting. You recruit people to do work for you. Leadership, or you have to lead them, and productivity, right? Being able to like manage yourself and ultimately self-mastery. So what I say is that you have to sell yourself out of doing everything. What do you think about that?
Well, I'll give you a really good example, because I talk a lot about time management. Everyone says, I don't have any time to do this. And it's like, bullshit. You do have time. You're just not allocating your time. Bezos just flew a suggestible shaped rocket into the sky, and you're watching Netflix, bro. It's like, he's got the same amount of time as you. Why is he producing more? Did his daddy give him a rocket? People will say, oh, his dad gave him this. It's like, bullshit. There are kids who get millions and don't do anything. It's not the resources you have, it's the resourcefulness that you have, as Tony Robbins would say. So in terms of time, like cleaning your house makes sense if you earn less than $20 an hour. For us to hire a cleaner is like 20, 25 bucks an hour, right? So it's, if you earn less than that, clean your house. If you earn more than that, don't clean your house. Like, it's just math. If I make $100 an hour and I'm cleaning my house for 2 hours, that cost me 200 bucks. If I had paid somebody, that would have cost me 50 bucks, which means that I overpaid by like 3x or 4x to clean my house. If I had it, would I pay someone else $100 an hour to clean my house? Hell no. Right? So why am I doing it? Because I think that it's free. Because I don't understand that the resource I can't get back is time. Now, you might not have cash. You might not have the space to do that. And maybe it still makes sense, even though you're worth $100 an hour, because you don't have enough clients to justify that. But assuming you have a copious amount of clients and you could choose to clean your house or see clients, then choosing to clean your house is dumb in a business sense, because if you had chosen to see clients, you would have made more money. Now, if you don't have enough clients and you're just like, I'm worth $1,000 an hour, it's like, yeah, you're worth $1,000 an hour for the one client you have, but then 39, 40 hours rest of the work week, you're not actually doing anything. I would say, bro, just clean your house and then spend that $50 on marketing to go and get more of those clients. So it's all math, and you have to get to the next level. You've got to bring in people who can do stuff, or systems that can do stuff. If you can't afford a software to make your life easier, you got to do it yourself. Then when you can afford to do it, you say, does it make sense to do it? Because just because you can afford something doesn't mean you should have it. I can afford a yacht, doesn't mean I should have a yacht, right? If I can afford a chef, doesn't mean I should have a chef, because maybe it doesn't make business sense to do that. But the moment it does, you have to, otherwise you're costing yourself money. So I liken this to anything, man. If I want to go faster, you get better systems, you get better software, you get better mentorship, you upgrade yourself, you figure out what it takes to get there. If you're not making enough sales, spend more money on marketing to get more leads, to get more sales. If you're stuck in your business, spend money on getting mentorship to get your game up so you can perform at a higher level. And it's the same principle as, like, you're spending 2 hours on Netflix and 2 hours cleaning your house. Which one should you give up first? Netflix. What's the next one you should give up? Cleaning your house. Because it makes economic sense when you make more than that. But I hope I answered your question, but I think you get my point.
Yeah. And just for the audience, right? One easy way to do this is determine how much money you want to make. Let's say it's $1 million, right? You put $1 million into your calculator and you divide that by 2,000, because that's the average amount of time that you're going to end up working in a year. Divide that by 2,000 and $500 per hour. That's how much the activities that you're doing should be worth, right? So if you're doing something, I don't know, like scrolling through social media or whatever, so ask yourself, would you pay $500 to someone to do that? And if the answer is no, then why are you doing it, right? And that's an easy way to do, summarize the thing that you just talked about. It's an easy way to do that, which it's awesome, man. It's all about leverage and stuff. And so talking about leverage, right? So when you have your business, when you had your baby, I mean, like something shifted in you, right? Something shifted in you, which like made you more effective. It made you more efficient. It made you more powerful, right? So right now that we were talking about your grandma and stuff, right? She would probably be the kind of person that, oh, now you had a family, so now you need to hold yourself back, play it safe, and
I was told,
normal, right?
don't get too successful, James. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like, well, it could all go away. And I'm like, sure, but if I was broke, it still could all go away, but I would have had more fun in the meantime. Like, I don't understand. Like, if I have $1 million and then I lose it, if I had no money, at least I got to enjoy that $1 million for a couple of years. Like that makes no sense, Grandma. What are you talking about? Because I was buying property at the time. She's like, oh, James, be careful. And I'm like, that for me, again, fear, risk, failure. Do you think Warren Buffett worries that much about stuff? He could potentially lose billions if the economy shifts, and people are worried about losing $1,000, but then they went and bought Dogecoin because they wanted to get rich quick. It's like understanding risk is so important. It's super relative. When you don't know enough, everything looks scary. Driving a car looks crazy to a kid. To you and I, we're like, I'm just driving a car, man. Like, it's not that scary. Understanding risk is important too, because people are scared of flying because they think they're going to die. But driving to the airport is the most dangerous part of that whole journey. People die every day in cars, but one plane crashes and everybody freaks out. It's like getting eaten by a shark. People think they're going to get eaten by a shark at the beach. It's like you are more likely to have like a coconut hit you in the head when you live in like, I don't know, where's some place that doesn't have coconuts, and then you are to be eaten by a shark. And so I don't know the words, but like relative risk or risk assessment. It comes down to naivety and ignorance. And I think that when I had a kid, it's like, now you got to go harder, man. Like, what are you going to do? Staying where you are and conserving is never going to move you forward. Saving money will never make you rich, because for every bit of money that you save, inflation is going to eat it up. And that means that everything's going to cost more. Your money is also going to be worth less. And so you're never going to get ahead. The only way to get ahead is to invest. You've got a finite amount of time. You don't have much money. And now you've got a kid you got to look after. You don't take dumb risks. Don't go and buy cryptocurrency and try and get rich, but go and invest in yourself once you've paid the bills that matter. If you've got time to spend, go to the library and read books until you get some skills that you can then go and use for somebody. You've got a little bit of cash, go and spend that cash on programs to go and learn some stuff. Even if you buy a program that's shit, you learned from that experience. It can't all be bad. And if it is, well, you learn how to make a better decision on who to invest with. Like at the end of the day, every dollar that you spend is about shortening the time it takes to get success. Because money is designed to shorten like time, right? If I'm paying someone to clean my house, there's a risk that they might not do it as well as me. But I got my house cleaned pretty well and I saved myself 2 hours. What can I do with those 2 hours? So when I look at my kid, for me, it's this idea of you think you have time or you think you're busy. I'll rephrase it. You think you're busy and you got all this stuff going on in your life. Then you have a kid and you go, what the hell was I thinking that I was busy, right? I've got no time now. Like I'm proper busy. And then you have a second kid, because I got 2 now. And you go, man, how was I even thinking that I was busy when I had 1 kid? And it's just, you start to realize that you just got to be more productive. Otherwise, nothing's going to work out. And unless you're just like an asshole father who's going to leave or like not do well for your kids, you got this perpetual drive to go, well, I got to feed my babies. I've got to give them more. I grew up poor, and I'm not going to let that happen to my kids. Alcohol was a problem in our family. I'm not going to let that happen because I'm not going to let myself get to this point or this or what. Like, you've got a choice when you have a kid. Are you going to change and be their superhero and their mentor, the person they look up to? Are you going to be better, or are you just going to be the same sad ass as whatever your life was and perpetuate the problem? We all have a choice. We all got an opportunity to perpetuate the cycle, and that cycle could just be of mediocrity. Like maybe listening to this, you're middle class, you're doing pretty well, family's been great, mum and dad are great. And that's fine. Do you want to perpetuate that though? That's the question you want to ask. Do you want to perpetuate being fine and being okay? And if you do, amazing. But if you want to do more, if you want to be more of a leader, you've got to make some different moves. And so for me, I saw it and I went, I don't want to work these stupid hours. I want to travel. I want to my internet's back. I want to give my kid the chance to have better experiences and to learn more. And I realized how important connections were and experiences were to help them. And like if you've never left your tiny rural town, you don't really read many books. You never traveled. You don't know much stuff. You don't know what you don't know. I want my kid to have had a lot of experiences so that he can choose to live in that small town and live a quiet life, or go to the big city, or study or not, because he's had options. And so I wanted to create that opportunity. So I said to myself, I'm not going to perpetuate the old way of doing things, which is my current family style, and I'm going to give them more. And so I have to go and do more. So how am I going to do more? Because I got less time. I got a kid. And you just become more productive, man. Like you make a choice. It's like if you're stuck on an island and you see social media posts like this, right? You're stuck on an island and you build the wood and you take the wood and you cut it down and you make yourself a nice fire, and then you build a help sign, and then you just sit there and go, come on, somebody's going to help me. Or you go, I don't know if I can swear. Sorry. You're going to say, fuck it. I'm going to build a raft and I'm going to get off this. Right. And you got a choice. And some people sit, some people take a risk and they go, oh, well, I'm not going to have a help sign. And people are going to look at you and go, you're crazy. You took that wood and you built a boat. How is anybody going to see that we're here? Because you didn't use it to build a help sign. And I'm taking the risk saying, is it really a risk? because the risk is that no one's going to see that sign and you're going to die here. The risk that I'm taking is that I'm going to go and create a future. Worst case scenario, I fall off my boat and I swim back to shore and I build a sign. Like if that's always an option, there is no risk, because the risk for me is staying the same place is far scarier, and creating no future for my son is far scarier. Anyway.
And so what do you say to a married entrepreneur with kids, to a husband, a father trying to make it work in business, who has fear of failure, fear of letting his family down, fear of not being able to make it work? Right?
Yeah, easy, man. Like all of the fears that you might have are real. Okay, that's the first thing. It's got they're real. You know, maybe if this doesn't work out, you know, we're going to struggle for a bit. But the end of the day, there's fear on both sides and there's risk on both sides. And you have to just choose which one you're comfortable with. Are you comfortable with mediocrity? Because if you are, then you'll stay there. If you're not, then you won't. Like fundamentally, that's what it comes down to. What's worst case scenario? It doesn't work out. Go get a job and move somewhere where it's cheaper to live. Like I get this all the time. Like house prices in New Zealand are a lot, especially in Auckland where I live. They're very expensive and people get upset at that. And I'm like, well, then stop trying to buy a house in that area, man. Go buy a house somewhere else where it's cheaper, and then, you know, collect some equity and then buy another one, and then just climb the ladder, man. Like, do you get upset that you can't buy in the Hollywood Hills because you used to be able to buy it cheap and now you can't? You don't cry that you can't buy a mansion in the Hollywood Hills, even though 30 years ago it was cheap. You just buy it somewhere else. So for me, and this sounds super privileged or whatever, it's not, because contextually I had nothing and I created stuff. The difference is, are you comfortable settling where you are, or is that scary to you? Now, if you are scared of staying where you are, then the fear of staying where you are and the risk in your mind of staying where you are will be worse than the risk of doing something. That's what creates movement. If pain in your current situation is less than potential pain in the future, you will move in that direction. If pain in the future is more than the current pain, then you will stay where you are. So if you can understand that, and you realize that actually objectively the pain is the same or less or whatever, but you want to create it, then create more pain staying where you are than pain of changing, and you'll change. The reason why people, a touchy subject, but the reason why people struggle to lose weight or build muscle or get fit is because the pain of exercising and not eating Doritos and eating salad is bigger than the pain of getting jacked, you know, or what, like, sorry, of the pain of staying where you are. So if you want to change it, make the pain of eating Doritos worse than the pain of going to the gym, and you'll go to the gym. Like if every time you ate Doritos, I cut off one of your fingers, you'd probably start going to the gym after you've lost one finger. It'd be pretty quick, you know. You just got to create the emotional reality. So for me, as an entrepreneur, risk is everything. But guess what? And my wife said this to me. She said, James, what happens if it doesn't work out? I'm like, baby, I'll just go and be a sales rep for somebody else's program and crush. Because if I can sell $3 million of my own product, I can sell the shit out of anybody else's product when I don't have any risk, because it's just me selling their thing. I don't even have to deliver it. And she's like, oh, okay. And I said, and baby, if even that doesn't work out, I'll go get a job at a bank and make 6 figures within 3 years because I was successful as an entrepreneur. And if that doesn't work out, I'll just go work somewhere. And like at the end of the day, like there's so many layers to this game, and I think people get scared of it. And Gary Vee said it recently in a social media post. He said, somebody said, you know, my side hustle is making me the same or more money than my job. When is the time to quit my job? And all that person was looking for was validation. And Gary Vee says, well, now is the time to quit. And he's like, what's the worst that's going to happen? It fails, and then you just go and get another job. And if people talk about how it's hard to get a job, it's like it's I don't know, you know, maybe where you are it could be, but arguably it's actually not, because there's so many people that I work with that are always trying to hire people and they can't. So this idea that certain jobs it's hard to get jobs, maybe in certain things in certain places, then move, man. Like there's no jobs where you are, move. Like you just got to think about things different. You know what I mean? I think we create our own limitations. And the freedom that I got was realizing that I can create my own future by just changing my perspective on where I currently am. If things are expensive where I am, move. I got a friend who lives in Bali, lives it up in these amazing, bungalow homes, and it's cheap as, because no one's in Bali right now. Bali's cheap anyway, but no one's there because of COVID. And he's there having these like crazy restaurant experiences. Nobody there, his whole family rocking it by the pool. It's like, just move and change. But again, what's the pain? The pain of doing that stuff is more than the pain of staying where you are. Then you'll stay where you are. Yeah.
Then attach pleasure to doing the action steps that are going to take you to your desired future, right? So, man, I know that you have a pretty tight schedule and you have to go right now in a couple of minutes. So I end up this interviews, this podcast, by asking 5 questions. So can I go ahead and ask you the first one?
Yeah, man, jump in.
So the first one is, if you could travel back in time to give your 18-year-old self some advice, what would you say?
I would say that the first thing I would probably say is it's going to be all good, and you just have to ride it out. Like there is treasure on the other side, and that you have to go through this to get to where you want to be. Hindsight's great. Would I change my upbringing? Would I change my experiences? No, because if I did, I wouldn't be who I am. Had I had a choice to go through it in the moment, not knowing what life would be like on the other side, would I wish this on my own children? No, of course I wouldn't, because it doesn't mean that I'm going to end up where I am. But having ended up where I am, I would say to myself, you got to go through it, bro. And I probably wouldn't change that much. This is the trip of like going back in time type conversations. Is the trip of it. It's like everything has compiled to be where you are, positively or negatively. What would I give advice to somebody who is similar to me at that same time? I would say go and connect with more people who know more stuff than you, and go and learn more shit. Like, don't go to university, and probably go and deal with somebody who's really successful in property or something like that, and just trust that things take time, and that you're 18 years old, and that's 12 years before you're 30, and you're going to be 30 and be like, I got 2 kids and I'm super young. Like, I don't know how young you are. You look younger than I am. But how old are you?
20, man.
20. Shit.
Yeah.
So I'm 30, and I feel
I'm doing exactly. I'm taking your advice right now. I'm doing exactly what you're saying, what you're telling me to do.
Dude, I feel as young. You're gonna wake up at 30 and be like, man, I'm so young right now. I was talking to somebody who was 20, and I was like, yeah, man, like, and I used like an example of like us, and I'm like, what am I talking about? I'm 30 years old. I got 2 kids. I run businesses. We're not the same, but I laugh because in my head, I am the same. I just had more experiences. So yeah, it's like 12 years. You can wake up 12 years and have just done nothing, and then you'll be 30 and you'll be young and you can start again. So just go nuts.
Man, I've been helping married entrepreneurs with kids to grow their businesses without sacrificing their time, health, and family relationships. And for the longest time, I've been wanting to start this podcast. You want to know what was holding me back?
What?
My thinking. That's it.
Yeah, man. It's the only thing that holds all of us back. There isn't actually any ceilings, or if you think to yourself, I'm this, it can't work because of this. I'm, like you might have thought, I'm Mexican, I can't do this. This is a white person's game, or this is a rich person's game, or this is a whatever game. Like whatever story you have is probably been given to you by somebody else, first of all. And that probably was given to them by somebody else before them. And so whatever excuse you think you have, there is somebody who's crushing it. No matter how many legs or arms you've got, color of your skin, creed, there's somebody, right? People talk about all the terrible things that happen to their lives. Tony Robbins and Oprah Winfrey. Next, I'm a woman. Oprah, right? I've got no arms and legs. What's that dude? I know. It's like, dude's crushing it. He's got no arms and legs, and this dude's doing better than you. So what's your excuse? It's like your head's your excuse, It's crazy.
Man, and it's been so easy to get like super successful people like you into my podcast that like sometimes I get this urge to self-sabotage myself because it's been so easy. Like I record a video, I send them the video just like I did to you, and they say yes. They jump on a call to get to know me, and I tell them my story, and they're like, yeah, let's do it. And it's so easy that like I almost don't want to accept it. It's crazy, right?
My advice is to not even be thinking about it, because the moment you try and look and understand it, you'll understand it from your current frame of reference, and your current frame of reference can never understand it. Only your future self can, right? Like if you're an elite athlete trying to understand why you're so good, you're going to get in your own head and get out of the way. The overthinking athletes are the ones that struggle at, they choke. Why do they choke? Because they're overthinking. Why are they overthinking? Because they're trying to understand. You've got to have this unconscious competence. That's how you win championship shots. Kobe hits the shot right on the buzzer and wins it. That's because of unconscious competence. So when things are working, you don't think about it. You don't assess. You just keep going, because you don't need to know how it's working. You just need to know that it is. I don't know how my phone works, but I use it to make money. You know, if I'm going to stop myself from making money because I got to understand how the phone works, I'm probably going to spend too much time figuring out the phone and not making any money. So that's an obvious example, but it's the same thing in like, how am I getting guests? How am I, you don't even think about it, man. Just keep going. That's my advice.
Cool.
You get in your own head.
The second one, what is one mindset shift or breakthrough that you've made that you can share with us that has made you level up your life, your marriage, and your business?
Taking radical responsibility for all things. So if things are good, it's my fault because I did some stuff that worked. If things are not good, it's my fault because I did some stuff that didn't work, or I didn't do some stuff that would have worked. And I think that complete ownership of my experience of my life, I'm not saying I'm not victim blaming here, and, bad shit happens, but your ability to adapt to it, because it's always, again, whatever you think is bad in your life and you're using it as an excuse, there's somebody who's had it worse and has done better. There were people who locked up in killing camps in World War II, right? And these stories that you read of these people of how they survived when others perished, and we suffer because, I don't have this little advantage that my neighbor has. It's like, this dude was in a concentration camp. He survived. What are you bitching about? And it's like understanding that shit happens, but you're like, the better way of saying it is pain happens, but suffering's optional, right? Nick, I can't say his last name, Santanossi, whatever. Nick was born with no legs and one arm with a finger.
And he's jacked.
That's it, right? Suffering. He was born with pain. He can't run, but he can do his wiggle run. He can't run a sprint race. Oh, he can't wear shoes. Oh, life sucks. Or he pivots and changes the narrative, and so his suffering is optional. He did suffer, and now he doesn't suffer because he changed his headspace. So he took radical responsibility for his suffering, not his pain. You can't change that, but you can change your suffering. Your wife dies in a car accident. That's terrible, but what are you going to do with that? Are you going to be a loser father, gets drunk all the time, and then is not a mentor to your kids? Are you going to step up and show your kids how you can be anything despite what happens? Like, it's just all choices, man. And I definitely took choices that took me away from alcoholism and away from just paranoid anxiety and depression and things like that. And I made different choices because I wanted a different outcome. And I knew that I was the only one that could make those changes. So for me, radical responsibility for your suffering and for your achievement, I think, is the biggest thing for me.
Okay, man. And thank you very much. That's taking responsibility is definitely something that can really, like, if people really take it into consideration and really apply it, could make a huge difference, right? So the last one, what do you think is one of the most important habits that you have? Just one, the most important habit that you have that has contributed greatly to your success.
I would say, I'm going to sneak two things in. Two things: get up earlier. If you get up 2 hours a day earlier, that's 14 hours a week. That's basically 2 work days extra a week, which is a copious amount per year. You get like a week extra per year or something compared to everybody else. If you had an extra week, what more could you achieve? Heaps, because I got up 2 hours earlier. The second thing would be scheduling. So don't sit down and go, great, what am I going to do today? I've already planned tomorrow, and more importantly, it's scheduled tomorrow. So when I look at my calendar, it looks ridiculously busy. When in actual fact, I'm less busy because stuff is planned. So on Friday, from this time till this time, I'm working on this thing. And then this time till this time, I'm working on this thing. By doing that allows me to actually have space in my head and not have to think about stuff. So it's like I'm achieving these 2 things today, and I schedule it, and then it's done. And if I get it done in the first hour of the day, I can go and watch Netflix because my day was successful. But being an overachiever, I then go and do the next day's stuff today. But the point being that I'm scheduling, and I'm not overestimating how much I can get done. I'm just being super generous to myself, realizing that success happens over time, not in one day.
Cool.
I said like 3 things.
Awesome, man. Well, man, I don't know about everyone who's going to listen to this, but I loved everything that you said, and I would definitely want more of you, right? Want more of your content, want more of what you're all about, especially if I am a healthcare practitioner, right? So I have your links here. I have your links to the results page, which is insane. You have like hundreds and hundreds of health practitioners who have gotten amazing results from your services. So I have your Instagram, your YouTube, but what is the one place that, I don't know, maybe you want to let people know about, or you want to tell them to go and find you?
If you're interested in listening to people who are successful and inspiring and want to level up your game alongside me, if you check out my podcast, if you just search my name, James Neilson-Watt, you'll find my podcast. It's the James Neilson-Watt Show. I interview interesting, inspiring people. I've got Dave Woodward, the new CEO of ClickFunnels, coming on in a couple of weeks. I had Cohen Ray recently, Neil Patel, David Meltzer from Jerry Maguire movie was based on his life. People like that caliber, where you can see what they've done and you can just learn from them. I think that anybody can learn from their own mistakes, right? Don't put your hand in the oven. It's going to hurt. Like, you do it and then you go, that sucked, I'm not going to do that again. The smart person learns from other people's mistakes. Hey bro, don't put your hand in the oven. Why? Because it burns. Okay. Then you don't have to get burned and you can just learn. So for me, I'm wanting to learn from people who are doing way better than me. And that show is all about that. And so if you want to be, watching that and listening to it and learning as well, come along and check it out.
Cool. And just question for me. Do you interview gentlemen?
Yes, I do. I would say that most of them are. I like to bring on people who are wildly successful in more than one aspect, and look at breaking down their success more than just, hey, I made $1 million, but I'm actually an asshole. I'm wanting to do that. So we should chat.
Awesome, man. Because financially, it's all about time, right? And in the journey, I'm really early in my journey, and like, I just have amazing self mastery. Physically, I'm like, to in another level, and I'm a pretty good husband and father at 20 years of age, man. So yeah, I would love to see if I could provide some value to your audience, and it would be awesome, man. So I'm gonna let you go, man. Thank you very much for being here. Really appreciate you being here on the Gentleman's Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment podcast. And yeah, man, thank you very much.
I appreciate it. I hope everyone got some value and could understand my accent. Take care.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Thank you for watching the Gentleman's Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with one friend, leave us a comment, and let us know. 99% of people never leave a review or comment, but we love and are very thankful with the 1% of you who do. If there's something or someone you want to see on this podcast, send me a message on Instagram at Alex_Ramirez 1020 and let me know. As a thank you for that, I have an amazing surprise for each and every one of you who does take the time to leave us a comment or review on YouTube or one of the major podcasting platforms